all, O fools? Slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Ought not Christ to have suffered these things and to enter into his glory? And beginning at Moses and all the prophets, he expounded unto them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself. And they drew nigh unto the village whither they went, and he made as though he would have gone further. But they constrained him, saying, Abide with us, for it is toward evening, and the day is far spent. And he went in to tarry with them. And it came to pass, as he sat at meat with them, he took bread, and blessed it, and brake, and gave to them. And their eyes were open, and they knew him, and he vanished out of their sight. And they said one to another, Did not our heart burn within us when he talked with us by the way, and while he opened to us the scriptures? And they rose up the same hour, and returned to Jerusalem, and found the 11 gathered together, and then that were with them, saying, The Lord is risen indeed, and hath appeared to Simon. And they told what things were done in the way, and how he was known of them in breaking of bread. And as they thus spake, Jesus himself stood in the midst of them, and saith unto them, Peace be unto you. Now, this is really nice that Jesus said that, peace be unto you. And then in verse 37, they were terrified and affrighted, and supposed that they had seen a spirit, a ghost. Yes. But there's this idea of the frightening presence of God. Let's say today is the end of the world. It's the end of your world, where you get arrested, and you get put in prison, for felonies. Oh, it's going to be a very terrifying and a frightening experience. Yes, you're going to be frightened. Now, for every time that you put me in jail, did you think that I wasn't frightened? Ooch. That I wasn't, I wasn't terrified, but I sure didn't like being in there. There's always this concern when you arrest somebody that, when do you think I'm going to get out? Now, when you arrested me in January 4th of 2016, yeah, you put me in there, and you being in law enforcement, you actually have some idea what's going to happen to the individual when you arrest them. Yeah. Now, for those that are not used to being arrested, it can be a very frightening experience because when you're in the jail, you don't know when you're going to get out. And then there was that failure to appear, Judge Porter, where I had the evidence that I wasn't in SQUIM. Yes. But somebody made me have a mental health evaluation. And then when I said, well, I need to reschedule, yes, because of blood nausea, so you decided to have me arrested in SQUIM, Washington on September 24th of 2016. And that was a frightening experience because when I was in jail for 27 days, somebody decided, I think we'll just put him in Western State Hospital. Don't think that I don't understand about fear. I do. See, I made 81 recorded phone calls, and I thought it was very malicious and vexatious to refuse to admit the evidence of my innocence. Yes. And then 2 years ago on my wife's birthday, allegedly I was in Brennan, Washington. Yes. And I was emailing the co-workers, the employers of the Quilcene School District and the Brennan School District. Yeah, but I wasn't. Now, that was a frightening experience because when I went to court and I talked to my public defender, Jack Range, I said, well, I'm not guilty. He said, you're going to have a 1077. Well, what's a 1077? Another mental health evaluation where you say I'm delusional. Now, I went to court for 16 months, and as I remember it, Judge Landis, right now, she almost issued an order that would have involuntarily admitted me to Western State Hospital. Yeah. But she hadn't read the report from Phyllis. Yes. Now, when Mindy Walker was elected district court judge, yes, I was one of those cases that she kind of cleaned up the book of business. Yes, the docket. And they decided to dismiss because I never missed a court hearing. But the last thing I wanted was to be admitted into a mental institution. Now, I spent the last 3.5 years under the threat of incarceration. So it's either the Western State Hospital, where you're going to administer psychotropic medication against my will, yes, or you're going to arrest me for not paying child support, yes, and then you're going to put me in jail or prison where I'm never going to get out. Now, these experiences that I've had, yeah, they can be frightening. I've never been really terrified about going to jail, yes, but I dislike the idea of not knowing what's going to happen to my life. It can be frightening, being arrested. Now, I was arrested in May of 2012, right, where I didn't violate the protection order. I was found not guilty. My wife had me arrested on Guam for the allegation of child abuse and domestic violence. Yeah. Knowing that no one purchased me a plane ticket, pooch, kidnapping and abducting my sons. You know, it was somewhat of a frightening experience being in jail for the first time in my life at 40 years old. Yes, where I spent 10 days in a Guamanian jail. See, there doesn't seem to be any appreciation on the part of law enforcement how frightening it can be getting arrested. And since I've never been arrested in 40 years of my life, you would never admit that my wife calling the police on me on July 2nd of 2011 was for the reason, yes, of abducting my sons, yes, kidnapping them, moving to Clallam County, and having you issue a protection order where you had no jurisdiction of law. Yes. Now, I've had to spend the last 8 years experiencing some very frightening experiences. What I like to do, yes, is I'd like to reside with my family, and then I don't want to be terrified anymore. Yes, I don't want to be frightened. Now, for all of you that have badges on right now, I want you to understand something. I have been the target of your hate crimes. My wife made up a story. I never committed any domestic violence or child abuse. She abducted and kidnapped my sons. Pooch. And this county issued a protection order where I was not given any due process. Then you had me arrested 4 days after she motioned the court for dissolution of marriage. Then you reissued the protection order a week after she motioned the court for dissolution of marriage. It seems to me that judges, they just don't understand how frightening it can be going to jail because you don't know when you're going to get out. They don't tell you that. Now, I'd like to have the availability of using the courts of this nation. Yes. And quite possibly every court of every nation of the world. Yes. Because I'm going to have you fucking prosecuted.